In light of recent news with IGN, I thought it would be a good time to review some of the games that IGN has considered masterpieces. As of recent, Mixtape's the latest game to join the likes of Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 for masterpieces according to IGN. It had me wondering, what made this a masterpiece? What does it have in common with some of the other games that IGN considered masterpieces? Well, Mixtape is basically a game that kind of plays itself like a large unskippable cutscene, similar to Metal Gear Solid 4 before it became patched, and that was a 10 out of 10 from IGN. The storytelling was superb, or maybe its rendition of teenage angst that the likes of Persona 5 Royal could have done, or even The Last of Us Part 1 or 2, take your pick. And while it doesn't have the sheer scope or span of Grand Theft Auto, or even the locales or the car selection of Forza Horizon 5, one thing it does have is a very short runtime, so they expect you to play it over and over and over. I can only imagine that this is basically like the ending of Metal Gear Solid 5, where it's like an hour and a half of cutscenes that you might eventually press something. Not every game can be Skyward Sword or Ocarina of Time. The irony of this game being a 10 out of 10, when games like Pragmata are not 10 out of 10, which is weird, because if it's a dad and son, then it's God of War, and that's a 10 out of 10. But if it's a dad and daughter, then that's creepy. Except when it's The Last of Us, then it's not so creepy. I don't know, maybe the consistency's out of whack. I'm not sure what IGN is aiming for when it judges a game to be a masterpiece. This one seems more of a movie than a game. And again, we have enough Metal Gear on this list, where Metal Gear had engaging gameplay and a very engaging story. There's at least 3 entries of Metal Gear on this list, and surprisingly, 2's not on there. Not the coming of age story that we thought it would be. In fact, I think that there's other games on this list that kind of nail that better. I guess the real question is there a such thing as payola in is there such thing as payola in like journalism? In music, if you pay somebody for a good review or something, then that's kind of illegal. Do they do the same thing in journalism? I think this game so desperately wants to be a Hollywood movie but couldn't. But I understand the aspect of fantasy. I mean, you could be Link in Hyrule, you could be Master Chief Kratos, the God of War, or you can get a second chance at your high school years and pretend you have friends that you didn't. The weirdness of it, especially the whole making out scene where you control the tongues, but I mean, that level of innovation hasn't been there since like the original Ape Escape. But it's not so hard to bear if you think of one tongue being IGN and the other being the ass of the developer they want to pander to. Then it makes all the kind of sense in the world. Am I living at Mixtape? No, but in a 2026 that's pretty strong already as far as releases, especially when you consider things like Pragmata, Resident Evil, Requiem, it's kind of hard to believe that this game should be a 10, but neither of those got a 10. This is the same IGN that gave Concord an 8, and that is in the top 10 fastest games to go end of service of all time. Check my YouTube short if you're interested. Games journalism is going down the toilet. I'm sure the game is kind of decent, and this is where I would play an audio sample of the game, but because all the music's copyrighted, I can't play the music. This is like when women say that everyone's a 10 and they're not. This is like calling Gorlock the Destroyer a 10. 10s don't mean anything anymore to IGN. So what's the point of even having a scale? And I don't care about any kind of political or identity politics, or if it's trying to push an agenda. In a game where it doesn't even require you to push a button. This game probably would have been better if it were just released straight to YouTube or straight to DVD. If this game is a masterpiece, then the M must be silent. If this game is a 10, the Grand Theft Auto 6 needs to be IGN's first 13 out of 10. Mixtape wants you to feel nostalgia for a time period that most of the people reviewing it have never experienced, the same way Call of Duty makes me nostalgic for World War II. I mean, this game wouldn't even have gotten a 10 in a movie theater. Why is it a 10 out of 10 of a game? Not even last year's Game of the Year, Expedition 33, was a 10 out of 10 according to IGN. They're playing a dirty game here. I want no parts of it. I'm going back to the retro stuff.